I'm Maria Menounos, and you're tuned in to AfterBuzz TV, the ESPN of TV talk. Now, let the buzz begin.
Hey guys, we are back again. I told you it was going to be quick. Welcome to the after show for Space Force. We're covering episodes 5 and 6, and the rest of the series into the evening and tomorrow as well. But before we get into anything else, first of all, my name is Tatiana Marisa, and I have the amazing Kevin Allen, who loves all things Greg Daniels. Hello, Kevin.
Hello, thanks for having me back.
Absolutely. I've loved covering the show with you so far. I feel like we're just like flying through it. Episode 5, what were your overall thoughts?
This one was the silliest one yet. This was such a goofy little episode with them playing like capture the flag or whatever.
Yeah.
I had fun. I think this one was kind of the essence of this show. It was a silly, fun little exercise with the fictional military organization that just happens to be real, and it had a lot of heart at the end between this. I'm loving the budding relationship between Mallory and Naird. I realized I've been pronouncing his name wrong the whole time. We've established I'm bad with names.
That's why I just call him Mark. It's easier.
General Naird. Well, and Air Force General, bad with names, called him Nerd, and that like threw off everything.
Right. And you're like, what is this name? I don't remember. Yes.
I'm gonna study this list while you give me your thoughts.
I loved this episode. I thought it showed how funny tech can be. Like they're having this entire game to make sure that everything works and see what's the best when it can all be ruined with just a smart technician. So
I love that there's a nerd branch of the military.
Absolutely. So that's what I liked about this. It kind of showed, like you can have all this military weapon and tech that you want, but at the end somebody can override it and win. So
that's right.
Right. So I liked it. I liked it. But we are talking, of course, the Space Force versus the Air Force and Mallory's friendship, like you said before, because I love as well this relationship that they keep having. So let's talk first about Space Force versus Air Force. They are always like combating against each other. They just dislike each other so much. And I kind of want to know the backstory behind them. Why they hate each other so much. What do you think? Is it just because Mark took his position because he was supposed to be leader of Space Force, or why do you think there's such tension?
Well, from what I've seen of, and this is his name, General Kick Grabiston.
Good, because I keep forgetting.
Remember that. That's not a real name. Kick Grab.
Watch, somebody in the comments is going to be like, my name is Kick, get out of here.
I think it's the pair of Kick and Grab that really gets me. I'm like, I like it. It's just so weird. It's like a Harry Potter name for a jock.
Yeah, or like a pet, dare I say.
Kick Grabiston. All right, so anyway, Kick, oh my God, General Kick Grabiston lives up to his name. He's a jerk.
Yeah,
he just like shoves people around and puts his junk in your face, and just an asshole. And of course, like someone having to work directly under him wouldn't like that at all. And so there's probably has been this workplace. I don't want to say a rivalry because he was a subordinate, but there's dynamic of like, hey, you're an undertow, and you can eat my crap if I order you to do it. And then our General Naird being under him, being like, I can't believe I have to put up with you. You're a jerk, but I can't say anything. Because at the first episode, that very first scene, he finally told him off. He finally said how he actually felt about him. And it was a big relief for him. So that dichotomy of asshole boss, begrudged employee got leveled up to be begrudged partner, so to speak, but with this rivalry between the two. And, the Army and the Navy have a rivalry in football. So I can only imagine that when it actually comes to the actual operations of these two departments, like they're going to butt heads. For Naird, he's still having to put up with this ASBAC general he thought he was replacing. And for Grabiston, he has this underling employee now his equal when he should have been continuing to work under him. This whole branch should have been under the Department of the Air Force.
Right.
So he feels like he was robbed of a promotion, I guess. 5-star general. I don't know.
Just, yeah. I mean, he's Grabiston is 5-star general as well, right?
Well, they're both 4-star generals. So my joke was that if they're going to create a new branch for space warfare, it probably should have gone under the Air Force in his mind.
Yeah,
and he should have been like, I'm a 4-star general plus, you know?
Got it. Yeah.
But all of that was a fancy way of saying he's an asshole.
Yeah. Yeah, hands down. That's what he is. Yeah. And that character, who's the guy that plays him?
Noah Emmerich.
Noah Emmerich. He seems to always play these characters that are kind of assholes. That just seems to be who he gravitates towards.
Yeah. But he will always be Truman's best friend from the Truman Show in my mind.
That's like right. I didn't even make the connection.
Yeah, that's how I first know of Noah's work. And
yes,
he was a really granted he was faking it because he's an actor, but he was really heartfelt, sincere, and he cared about his buddy, you know.
Yeah.
And even when things went to shit, he didn't show his true colors or anything like that. He was always a good guy. And so for me, seeing him in this role, as much as he does get cast for jerks, I'm like, man, you changed, bro.
What happened to you?
Such a jerk. Yeah.
What have you been through? He's
like,
head
of the Air Force. Go to your head.
So I like that Dr. Adrian calls this testosterone tag. He is not into it at all. I feel like, and it's all in the name of testing out new tech. It's like a big video game with controls and everything, literally.
Yeah. Well, and not only that, it's new tech for the losers. It's new tech for the people who don't succeed at this.
People who die.
Yeah.
And then their bodies have to be walked back, which is such an interesting thing to develop anyway, that for that specific reason. And it didn't even work. Like all the people, I was so caught up and sucked into the actual game, who was winning and how they were trying to do everything with pumping the BB guns and everything, that I neglected to focus on exactly how these pants I thought they're not pants, but how these robot legs,
exoskeleton.
Thank you. Yes, the exoskeletons, how they actually worked, and they did not work very well. They did not work. And how are you supposed to be super limp and just allow somebody to carry you with your legs? It's it doesn't. I feel like I couldn't do that in real life unless I actually was dead.
I kept wondering that the whole time, because it's just all these actors on their backs, just making kicky feats in the air.
That's what it was like.
And I'm trying to picture this walking pair of legs with a limp video game body torso just dragging behind it or something. It's an absurd premise.
It
obviously.
is.
And I was living for John Malkovich's degrading comments and nicknames for the whole operation because it really did deserve that.
Absolutely.
How silly it was.
I feel like John Malkovich, he was he doesn't strike me as the type of guy who was in the boys club, which is kind of what Mark was talking to him about, and but he, in the end, he came through for Mark ultimately.
Yeah. And I this might be the one prediction I was right about, that when it comes to their relationship, they will not see eye to eye, and there's a loose definition of respect for one another, but however opposed they may be, when it comes down to something that matters, they pull through for each other.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think it took some pulling of the heartstrings again, just like in the last episode, to kind of get Mallory on board. The phone call, I guess, I'm never going to ask you if I need help. I'm just remind me that I'm never going to go to you, or something like that.
Yeah, just the guilt trip he put on.
It's a total guilt trip. But it also, it proved Mallory's point that there was no reason to have this space tag or space flag.
Absolutely. And what I loved about it, just from Mallory's perspective, was it couldn't have been a better demonstration of both the absurdity of the exercise and the significance of the tech side of things, that he waited till there was only one dude left, and that one guy took out the entire enemy regiment. Like, if you're gonna make it the statement of this is how you win through tech, like, he did it in the most dramatic, nail-biting way.
Yeah, he did, and then he just went up there, Mark, just pop,
Yep.
pop, and that was it. But he was comfortable winning that way. Would you be comfortable winning that way?
I mean, after how close he was to losing, like, take what you can get. And I would like to say that was Mark's version of doing what Mallory did for him, and like, I'm gonna come through for you at the end and just follow your plan. But I think it was mostly just he wanted to rub it in Grabiston's face.
Yeah.
Just like, if any way I can just literally walk up to him and just emasculate him, I'm gonna do it.
Then that's what it's gonna be. Yeah. This episode was mainly, it was mainly about the tech and the tag. So there wasn't like a ton else to talk about other than that, because like we said before, these episodes are very focused. Did you have anything you wanted to add about this specific?
There was just a lot of things I liked in this episode. It just like, there was like, I loved, like, I said this before, like, I love seeing John Malkovich stomp around and like make a scene. Like, I love seeing him be silly, and it just happens very rarely, even on this show, but it's nice when it does. I'm always looking for the commentary on the show and like, we talked about the expectations that we're coming in with for this series,
right.
But I still look for those bits of commentary because they're super subtle here. And I loved how the pump action rifles being compared to this glorified military musket.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, that's a perfect homage to backwards thinking.
Exactly.
Like, you couldn't have a better example. And that just compare that with the tech side of things. It just is like, progress is a thing for a reason. Like, we don't want to glorify the past too much because we're moving on from them. Otherwise, we're going to get our asses handed to us.
Exactly. But I didn't see the other guys. I didn't see the Air Force have pump BB guns either.
I think they did. I expected, like, I don't know. We didn't really get up close with them.
Yeah.
But I expected they were the weapon for everyone. Like, Mallory said at one point that those weapons were chosen for this exercise because that's all it takes is a BB-sized hole. So
and the space scissors, right?
Yes, that no one can fit their gloves through.
Yeah.
So I assumed they had the same weapon.
Okay.
And it would make sense why they didn't just like fire right back at Naird when he came up with the scissors.
Because they had to.
I thought that was the only way to make it fair, was they both had the same weapon. So, but I don't know. We didn't really get up close and personal with them.
Yeah. It was good. It was good. I thought it was kind of a little bit of a filler episode, but overall,
I guess it wasn't. Yeah, you're right. Like you said, it was more of a character episode than a plot episode.
Yeah. Because it's reinforcing the relationship between Mallory and Mark, which is nice, which I'm assuming is going to lead to a buildup of some sort.
And I don't think it's just Mallory and Mark. I think it's it's Mark and everyone who works under him. Like, he had to get tough with his own team to whip them into shape because they wanted to go out for Froyo. But then conversely, he took the nerds out for Froyo after winning the big baseball match.
Right.
So like, it was like him kind of having a little more authority over his team, which he's been lackluster with throughout the first couple episodes, and also having a chance to bond with that whole department. So
I think you're right. I think you're totally right. It fits with his character. So moving on from that, we're going to go slowly into episode 6, The Spy. And we're going to talk the India's rocket launch and the president's birthday, because those are so important. They're like almost here, they're the same level. Just so you know, they have the same level of importance.
I'd like to think that India chose that day. They chose POTUS's birthday in which to launch their rocket.
I would like to think, I would venture to say that that's pretty accurate. I can't wait to hear our special segment and also our news, which is coming up after this. But let's talk about India's rocket launch. So the Pegasus fin system has been stolen, so they think. And Mark and Adrian take it upon themselves. Yeah, Mallory take it upon themselves to basically interrogate everybody, run the spies out, which Mallory's not really into, but
because he doesn't, so ill-equipped for it.
They totally are, but Mallory's not into it. And Mark is like, well, we're gonna find it, this is what we're gonna do. So instead of like hiring people, or I don't know, doing it in a logical manner, they just kind of go after it. So I made a list. We have Baxter, is the guy who's always talking about, he's always slamming Mark for everything. You're basically saying he's like inadequate for everything. Baxter, F. Tony, we have Brad and Chan and Kelly, even Kelly and Yuri, of course, but Yuri ends up helping them, which I thought was hilarious.
Right. Yeah.
That's the one that you would want to watch out for, but it didn't really happen that way.
He was such a smooth operator in that scene. I was like, how are you all trusting him?
Right.
Like, even if he's not the spy this time, he knows way too much about how to go about these things.
Yeah. Who did you think it was first when they first said, oh my gosh, I think there's a spy? Who do you think it was first?
I mean, it wouldn't be Yuri, because Yuri's spying for Russia.
Right.
He apparently is Putin's son. So
yeah. Which is like what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think my initial thought was Baxter, because there's something about that guy, like he's always there and I still don't know why he's there or who he is.
Yeah.
And granted, we saw him on his phone a lot, at least at the top of this episode. I want to say other episodes, but I'm like, my mind's going places like, was he always on his phone?
He was, because remember he walked past Mark and he was like, oh, he's like ruining the whole thing. And Mark looks at him and he goes, oh, it's my dry cleaner.
You're right. So yeah, he's certainly not in it to help Mark.
Yeah.
Really the whole institution, So yeah, I totally thought it would be him.
I thought it was either Baxter or F. Tony, because they're both really suspicious people. F. Tony does
not respect confidentiality. That's for sure.
No, not at all. And he's always tweeting everything, and now he's videoing everything, like in the episode 5, when that's what he was in charge of, media. And so I love that while they're doing these investigations, we see little bits and pieces about everybody. So Brad is slightly incompetent. He has no idea his geography or history, for that matter. So he's not, I mean, he's a 1-star general. So I guess
I don't even know how he's a 1-star general. He's such a mess.
That's what everybody is saying.
How did he get that job?
That's what everybody's saying. So we find out that he's literally what Adrian said. He's a mannequin. His eyes are like that of a department store mannequin. So that's how we would describe Brad. And then of course there's Chan, who is secretly in love. He likes Asian and Black porn. It wasn't
porn, because was he applying? I'm so confused, and I want to think the best of Dr. Chan.
Okay, look, I want to think the best of him too, but I don't. I mean, I'm pretty sure it was porn.
I thought he was saying that he was married to a Black woman, and he was like part of there's like a small internet community for Asian men who are married to Black women and vice versa, like to share stories. I think the best of people, and it gets me into trouble.
Very good. No, that's good. That's really nice that you thought it that way.
Porn, it's love, he said.
Mine was like, that's porn. So we find out that he has this love for that. And then of course Mark goes and interrogates Kelly, because Kelly's on the list, because she was the one that set up all his computers and software and stuff like that, it seems.
Yeah, she's a civilian contractor who has access to the base, and probably has a lot more access than most people who actually work for the base, because she has to go places. Yeah, and then there's that she set up his computer for him, and I was like, oh God, did you not change the password, Mark? Is that what this is all about?
Right, exactly.
But
here we have good Mark. He's like, let me just stare into your eyes. Like that's his lie detector test. Would you trust that?
His gut keeps getting him out of pickles.
Yeah.
It's every time that there's a jam where he's like, there's the facts and there's my intuition, and he goes with his intuition and it somehow pays off. So I was like, sure, why not? But honestly, I didn't think she had anything to do with it.
No,
She
me neither.
seemed perfectly collected and was just like, this is weird, not fishy at all. So if it was ever going to work, it was going to work for her because she had nothing to do with this.
Right. And did you see the spark between them? I mean, it was there in a couple episodes back.
Yeah, I was going to say it's been there. So I saw it the first time, and I mean, his wife is away and he's still married, but they're kind of cute around each other. It's so
They're totally
both so
cute around each
nervous,
other.
and
this was supposed to be his conjugal visit day, and it didn't happen because of this whole, Pegasus fin system with India. So, and his wife gave him the go ahead.
That's true. She did do that.
She did. She was like, look, I'm going to be in here for a super long time. So if you need to help yourself, like,
that puts
go
him
ahead.
in a little bit of an ethical puzzle.
It does. It's a weird position to be in. I know some people can make like that snap decision, but I feel like it'd be a weird position to be in. So we see that spike. I mean that spark, excuse me, not spike. We see that spark between Kelly and Mark, and so there's definitely some feelings there. So that's not going to be left alone. I'm positive we're going to see that again. And then last but not least, we have Mallory on the list. Mm-hmm. What did you think about Mark jumping to conclusions with Mallory?
So, top of the episode, I noticed Mallory, like, he's being polite enough, like bare minimal polite. Like he kind of shied away from the concept of respecting Mark.
Right.
It's so weird because like he was asking Mark like, oh, something seems really upbeat about you. What is it? But he did it in a way that was kind of a little mocking, like just making these assumptions about meatheadedness, being involved with a sports team or something. And that's just his attitude, that he just kind of has this sour disposition in a nerd jock relationship.
Yeah.
But like then he covered him for the conjugal visit thing with the dentist remark, and there's just the relationship is so weird where it's like they say they don't respect each other, but they do, and they don't act like it, but when they come forth through each other. So it was weird because I felt like the show wanted me to think he was, and it worked just enough to, I'm like, well, he could be. Like
it made you turn on him.
Yeah, their relationship is so on the line.
Yeah.
That I was like, maybe.
But it sucks because we've seen this beautiful relationship blossom, mm-hmm. and we've seen them, help each other out and have each other's backs, and have this, like you were saying, have this mutual respect, for each other. And I feel like Mark just threw it all away so fast.
Yeah.
Like you think you know somebody, you know what I mean?
He did and he didn't. Like he did, but he did it nicely. Like,
I mean,
well, so General Gregory came in there, like rough him up, and get him out of here, tase him. He's like, no, just like let him walk out. Let's do this cordially. It's almost exactly what I was describing. Like we're gonna assume the worst but act the best, or vice versa.
Right. Yeah. No, I hear you. But I feel like him, even though he treated him nicely and took him into the room, he still played that video of his love song to Jerome for the entire crew to see. And he didn't like play it and was like, oh no, this isn't it, and stop it. He played the entire thing.
The mistake was like, okay, so here was me justifying Mark's behavior. These two guys tasked themselves to be the ones to oust the spy, not a committee of experts, because time sensitive and because, well, they're at the top, so we know it's not us. So we're just going to go down the line until we figure it out. So when someone brought him, and it's so weird that like General Gregory got off his seat, went to a place and accomplished a task, and then brought him sensitive information. Like that was so out of character to the point where I was like, I don't trust Gregory now. That was so out of character for him.
Right.
But anyway, so Gregory brings him this information, and if he's doing his job, he's got to look into it. He knows that they don't see eye to eye on a lot of things, and now he's inexplicably wanting just to investigation right now. So like a case is starting to be made against him, and if it was anybody else, they probably would have just continued to investigate that. But because it's Mark, he just jumps in on it because time sensitive, and I'm the only one at the top I can trust now. So that's where I was like, okay, it makes sense he would follow this up, and this is how he would do it, turning on his new friend. Where he crossed the line, though, was doing it publicly. Like, if this was really the case, if it was time sensitive and he's the only one he could trust, he still should have kept it enclosed like he did with everybody else he interviewed, just like one-on-one in his office.
Right. Absolutely.
So that's where, like, I was like, okay, I can give you a pass for suspecting ill of Mallory, but you should have kept it quiet.
Yeah.
Tisk tisk.
So now do you think that their friendship is severed, or do you think Mallory understands and can look past it?
I think their friendship was so razor thin to begin with that it can't be severed. It's like a hair. You can't break a hair.
Right.
So thankfully, that's how thin the relationship was to begin with. It's kind of just the same now. It may have been starting to show signs of improvements, but now it's just going to go right back the one minuscule peg down that it already was at. God bless Mallory for all the salt he threw at him after that.
Yeah. I agree with you. I think that their friendship isn't necessarily severed, but it's definitely going to be, it'll be a little different because it's a low blow.
It's going to damage the working relationship at the least. For sure.
And Mallory's definitely going to have a lot to say, like Snidely, after this, I'm sure, in the coming episodes. Just wait.
So
bring it, John
sassy.
Malkovich.
Yeah, right.
So for the president's birthday, real quick.
Right.
Can't forget the president's birthday. F. Tony and Chan want to find out what they can do for the president. So they like come up with all these random things, including an invisibility cloak. And they come up with a star. What do you get a president? Like, what do you even?
The man who has everything. I don't know.
What do you get a president? Like, is a star stupid, or is it?
I'll give them this. If they're going to give him a star, they at least put thought into which one to get and picked out like an expertly approved star.
Right.
And that had some clout.
It was
had some fine qualities of stardom.
Yeah.
So when I was like, this is so stupid, but then when Chan was giving the pitch, I was like, okay, all right, I see what you're going for. That's cool.
Like, you did something with this.
And I think POTUS bragged about it in the exact way that POTUS would brag about it.
Mm-hmm.
So he would appreciate the most star of all the stars.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I have no idea what you would get other than like a statue or some nonsense.
I say just give him a hug and nobody's hugging right now. So if you give him a hug, it'll be extra special.
Send him a robot to hug him. He'll hug a robot. Yeah.
There you go. That's what needs to happen.
For robot human relations.
That's next.
Predictions. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. So, is there anything else that you want to add for this last episode 6?
Oh, no. I mean, it was just, like I said, I already said, I loved seeing John Malkovich do silly stuff and hearing him do a parody ballad on the piano and singing the way he was. I was like, oh, this is hilarious. I didn't know John Malkovich was so damn funny. He's
fantastic. I think he's one of the strongest characters right now. That's in the show.
He's favorite.
Yeah, me too. I think he's and he'll pop up, wherever he wants to, quite frankly. Like, I wouldn't have pegged this project as something that he would do. So I'm glad that he's doing it. I am.
Let's see if I can find. I came across an article about John Malkovich and why he took the role. Let's see if I can find that and answer your query, because he is the subject of today's news segment.
Oh, good. That was going to be my next segment. I was going to say, let's go into our news and gossip. All about John Malkovich.
All right. Well, let me see. As I'm pulling this up live now. Yeah, John Malkovich was in the news recently for an interview he did with The Independent, in which he was talking about, and to me, the other comedic project he's known for being John Malkovich.
Yes.
He revealed that he wasn't really on par with the project when it was first presented to him. So Spike Jonze in 2013 told somebody else in an interview that when he pitched it to Malkovich, he was like, Malkovich said, like, either the movie's gonna be a bomb and it's not only got my name above it, the title, but my name is in the title, so I'm gonna be screwed that way.
Yeah.
And I'm paraphrasing here.
Right.
Or it does well and I'm forever associated with this character. So on top of that, he shot back like, so why not being Tom Cruise or something? Like, he literally asked him that, why not being Tom Cruise? But Charlie Kaufman, the writer of Being John Malkovich, told him quite clearly he had no desire to change it and that Spike Jonze was going to direct. So he's like, okay, never thinking it would actually get made. And that was kind of the case for a long time. The script was originally floated around by Kaufman in the early 90s, and it wasn't until 99. So there was this huge grace period in which John Malkovich just assumed it would never happen and he wouldn't have to worry about it. But people did hear about the script being floated around Hollywood. So whenever he went to Hollywood for some press thing, he said, invariably I'd be in some hotel lobby or some restaurant in some vintage lamp store, and somebody would come up to me and say, hey, why aren't you making Being John Malkovich? And he's like, and then just eventually we did it. I just was happy to be a part of it. So in the end, he was thrilled, but the whole time he was like, why am I doing this? This isn't going to happen.
I mean, it's a crazy film. So, if I read it, I'd be like, I don't know.
Yeah, it's out there. Let's see. And then as far as Space Force goes, he saw the announcement. He said that he would love to be a part of it. And so that got back to the Greg Daniels. He said he mentioned how much he enjoyed Daniels and Carell's previous collaboration, The Office. So him being a big fan of comedy, he just wanted to do it because he just liked their work.
Awesome.
Yeah, let me see if I can find the exact quote. I thought it was a hilarious idea, and when I was doing a play in London, when the teaser came out, I saw that Steve Carell was attached. Teaser being for Space Force. Mm-hmm. And I watched The Office with my daughter, and we thought it had super funny things in it. I just thought it sounded like a very funny idea with the really ideal personnel attached. It wasn't quite clear if there'd be something for me or not. Then they sent me the first few scripts and asked me to look at Dr. Mallory, who I liked very much, and just thought it was a very funny idea. So I guess, he's not sure that they wrote the character for him, but I like to believe that they did.
Yeah, it's very him. He made it his own for sure.
Yeah, at the very least, he made it his own.
Yeah. That's awesome. That's cool. I didn't know that. Good
Me
news,
neither.
good
I just
news.
looked it up. Thanks for inspiring that.
Yeah, no worries. That's what I'm here for. Okay, special segment.
Mm-hmm.
I know I'm making you talk so much.
I know, it's all right.
Stay hydrated.
It shows like sun-kissed soda, and that was a bad idea. All right. So after our talk last episode, I just had to look into some of more of the official things with the Space Force, because they've had a couple months to decide these things, and they
real quick, let me say our special segment, what it is first. So so everybody knows.
Sorry.
No worries. If you're joining, this special segment we call it Space Force Fact Check. So there are, as you know, Space Force does have some, elements that are reality that are going on in our government today. So we want to see which is real and which is not. So we are fact checking them. Kevin is our official fact checker. Please.
So before we get into the facts, let's do one more piece of nonsense. I looked up some of the theme song from the 1978 Space Force pilot that Fred Willard was a part of, that we talked about in episode 1. because as far as I can tell, the Space Force that we have here in Darkest Timeline America does not have an official song yet. So the one that I'm pitching for them goes, "We will fight to keep the planet free. You can say goodbye to tyranny. We can help you a lot. We're the Space Force. We're all you got."
Brilliant. Pitch it.
Yep. Now, what inspired me to talk about all this, the rest of this stuff, not just from our last conversation, was that I noticed in the background of one of the rooms from episode 6, the motto for the Space Force was written on the wall. So the motto for the Space Force in Greg Daniels' universe here is "Love of space leads me."
Okay.
Love of space leads me. It's super ethereal, in my opinion.
Very.
I haven't quite confirmed this yet because I could not find it on their website. By the way, the Space Force does have a website, spaceforce.mil. Their motto, I believe, is "The sky is not the limit." That's what was told to me by our producers right beforehand. They do great research, so I trust their opinion. But "The sky is not the limit" is the real world Space Force. On our show, they have a Twitter account, and so does General Naird. That's the case in the real world. Space Force's Twitter account is Space Force DOD, and their General, I forgot his name already. John. I talked about in the last episode the uniforms. I can't remember what it was, but he has his own Twitter account, and so it's Space Force CSO. So
very interesting.
That means he must have a media manager. Thankfully, he's not tweeted about laser swords and Wendy's hamburgers that I've seen.
Is his name F. Tony?
No, yeah, right. He hasn't mentioned it yet. The actual general. And for anyone wondering why Space Force wasn't used, it was taken by some guy in Ireland. That's all I got.
Really?
Yeah, not the show. I thought the show took it.
Yeah, that's what I was. Yeah.
No, the show's Twitter handle is Real Space Force. So, just to keep things confusing.
Of course.
But it's just like some random guy has a locked account in Ireland, and I have no idea what's on it. Anywho, I also brought some visual aids.
Yes, good.
So we've been seeing their uniforms. We talked a lot about them in the last episode. So what I'm going to show you first are the Space Operations Badge. These are basically the command insignias that the generals like Naird and Gregory and everybody else we've been seeing on the show would wear. There are 3 in this image, and currently only the bottom one has confirmed to actually be used. So I don't know what that means. Brand new institution. We'll figure that out as we move on. Next is the U.S. Space Command Badge. So this is on the actual Space Force uniforms. It's not to be confused with the seal. That's its own thing. But the commanders wear their own patch on their uniforms, and that's what ours looks like. And then finally, I have the Space Force flag. And this is basically what went around the internet. It's a lot like the seal, including all of the Star Trek comparisons. So
I saw that when it first came out, like a lot of people were upset because they thought that it was stolen from Star Trek.
I mean, it looks like a sci-fi insignia.
It does.
Granted, we're talking about space, so yeah. I have another segment planned for our last episode in which we'll talk about some of the other space institutions out there. The triangle arrow, it's a big theme.
Yeah.
There's a lot of that. So it's not just Star Trek. There's a lot of the triangle arrow thing out there.
Okay. Good to know.
But yeah, that flag, I feel like it only belongs at Comic-Con.
Yeah, that is my feeling as well, but then I try to think, okay, if I were to change it, what would I have anything else to offer up that would look different and passable? And I don't think I do.
Yeah, and that's why I brought up the officer's badge, because like that looks like a military thing. It's got the eagles and the 5-point stars, planet Earth. There's a lot of things that I normally would see on military stuff, presidential seals and everything. This one, it's got like the Star Trek insignia, the NASA swoop around it, the World Wide Web logo behind it, a bunch of stars that aren't like American stars, you know? They're just
Yeah.
I'm gonna jump in here, Kevin.
just-
sci-fi and maybe Australia.
Kevin, I'm gonna
and then the
jump in
Roman
here
numeral.
because
do it.
Ooh.
uh,
Yes.
not only because I think you're missing a few things in this logo.
Oh, please.
It's got the Roman numeral Justin Bieber tattoo. That's the big one. It's got the
I need to see what you guys are seeing. I
it's
cannot.
got the arrow, obviously, which is actually the pointer of a mouse, because
Oh, that is what that is.
It's
That's
a
why it looks
pointer of a
familiar.
mouse, and
It's a
then-
cursor.
it's not the World Wide Web logo, Kevin. It is actually the Pan Am logo mixed with the Subaru logo of the little sparklies with a with a little sperm flying around it. So it's the
A sperm.
the spermerific clicker from the Pan Am Subaru commercial featuring Justin Bieber.
Oh my God!
You're
so
welcome.
this flag. I told everyone.
That's
Our
hilarious.
producers do great research, and Stephen, that was amazing research. Thank you.
I'll take Steven's. I'll take his definition, his outlook on this.
So good. Yo, so this flag is relatively new. I think it's the newest thing they've unveiled.
Mhm.
They've got their order and they got their cadets uniforms and all that stuff. They've been doing a decent job building up the whole branch. I think the flag is the newest thing, and I feel like it came out a week before the show dropped, as if to beat them to the punch. And I just feel like the show couldn't do better.
Yeah. Hands down.
That is the most absurd thing I would expect from a comedy parody of a United States military branch to come up with, and the government beat them to it.
That's awesome. All in good fun. So good. I love
That's
it.
what the show is. It's just good.
Yeah,
fun.
exactly. All right. With that, I think we covered it all and then some. So Kevin,
Yeah.
I love this special segment that you're doing, because it's bringing to light a lot of things that I honestly hadn't seen. So that is awesome. But before we leave, quick 1-sentence prediction.
Oh
One
man.
sentence.
Okay. Let's see. Japan is going to get involved. Maybe Canada, with their own space race, and oh boy, I'm not good at this. Mallory's going to instigate a coup with his nerds.
Ooh.
Not against General Naird, but just to kind of you'll have to do things on your own, General. We're gonna do things our way. Just kind of split into separate teams, and the whole thing's gonna fall apart. And also, I predict that you said 1 sentence. That's it.
Okay, good.
I just wanted to
good.
remind you that Duncan is out there.
Yes. And I was going to talk about him, but I didn't. He and Aaron, I think, are going to find love. Oh, Duncan.
He's definitely got a crush on her.
For sure.
and,
She has a
well,
crush
she
on
won't
him.
admit it. Yes, she will not admit it. But it's so obvious.
Yeah. So I'm hoping that is something that will blossom and become a lovely story. And that's my sentence. I forgot I said 1 sentence. That was my sentence. I do what you did. Okay, and before we go, where can we find you, Kevin?
You guys can find me on Twitter at Kevin Allen Says, and Instagram at Kevin Allen Graham.
And
Kevin Allen was taken by some guy in England. So
first it's Ireland, now it's England. I'm Tatiana Marisa, and you can find me at Tatiana Marisa on all social media platforms. And we will be back again in an hour covering another 2 episodes. Yes.
Yep.
We're just going through it today, guys. So we'll see you in an hour.
Our founder, Kevin Undergaro, and me, Maria Menounos, would like to thank you for tuning in to AfterBuzz TV. Remember, we're not just the first, we're the biggest in the world, and we're the only destination for all your favorite TV shows. Whatever you crave, we've got it. So go to AfterBuzzTV.com and check out our lineup. Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.